Grab you a cup of coffee, and today we are going to be talking about why we chose statistics for our 12th grade math versus pre-calculus. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching and for following along with our homeschooling themed videos. Today we are talking about why we made the decision to do statistics versus pre-calculus. So let me kind of summarize really quick before we talk about that, our unique teaching style that we use for our kids. So Matt and I, both growing up, mostly public school system. I had some homebounding, like when we were away for a couple months in Texas or Mississippi or Louisiana, or places like when we moved around a little bit or were visiting family for extended periods of time, we would be going on places and they would just like send us our schoolwork at home. Now, I personally wanted to be homeschooled most of my life through public school system, but with the complicated situation with the custody agreement with my family, I wasn't able to do that. So Matt was, though. Whenever he started high school, his mom pulled him out and homeschooled him. So he had a mix of homeschool and public school, and then I had public school with, again, the homebounding experiences and things. So when we first started educating our kids, we knew we didn't want to go the route of public school. We had seen failures in the public school system, and we took some of the things that we did like I had a 5th grade teacher who, when she saw students exceeding under a certain way, she would allow us to go that way. Like, I did not succeed in science when it was just read this and do what it says. I was more of a hands-on person. So for my science credit for 5th grade, I was also in 4-H at the time. She literally one day was like, you're going to sit in this chair right outside our door, and our emergency exit for our classroom went out to the playground. Well, at the time that she did this, there was nobody at recess that day, and at the time I was in elementary school, it went all the way through 8th grade. Nobody was on the playground at that time. She put me in a chair with a pair of binoculars with my 4-H wildlife and fisheries book and said, I want you to record every bird that you see flying around. And that became my absolute favorite class. And she gave me science credit for it. And she would do the same thing with other students too. And like, she became my favorite person. I ended up excelling, and I won best overall ribbon for our entire county for wildlife and fisheries. And I mean, like, I beat out kids who like went fishing every summer. So it was kind of funny for that. I took those experiences and took things like that, and I'm like, this is how I want to teach school. I don't think school should be, here's a workbook and do it. Because in real life, out in real world, they're not going to give somebody a handbook at McDonald's, and let's just go basic McDonald's and be like, here's written instructions on how to make a hamburger. So Matt and I met working at fast food. So I am familiar with how fast food works. That's our love story. It'll be linked up here. We met working fast food. So like, we know how that process works. It's not, you're going to sit down, read this, and take a test about it. It's no, you're going to stay in here, watch me do it, and then you're going to repeat it, and then you've got to do this 100 times in like 10 minutes. Or, or 100 times in an hour. But anyways, it's hands-on, it's learning, it's experience. If you mess something up, you don't get an F, and then you may have to repeat it, or you just fail and repeat the grade. You've got to completely disassemble that thing right now and rebuild it. Matt works in construction. So we don't like that concept of just read, take a test. We're more hands-on when it comes to it. We do love reading. We buy multiple books for our kids. We just bought them the Lord of the Rings series, like the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings combo. And then we have the first 2 books that now I can't think of off the top of my head. I think the one's Silmarillion and Battle over Rohirrim, I think. So like, they have those books as well. We have the entire Chronicles of Narnia series. We have some other book series that our kids absolutely love. We do love reading. We don't like the approach of read this on a piece of paper, never going to apply to your real life, and then do it. So that was kind of our teaching style, is we wanted our kids to be able to take what they were learning, apply it, and then reuse it again. One of the ways that we teach math, especially early on, as soon as any of our kids started learning fractions, we didn't sit down with them with the workbook first. We took them to the kitchen. Because Matt learned fractions as a 5-year-old in the kitchen with his mom. And we're like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So let's try it. Now all of our kids love baking, they love cooking, they love being in the kitchen. And Matt, honestly, if we'd had the money to, would have went to culinary school and gotten a job as a chef because he is amazing at it. And he does better with just like tasting and trying and doing things versus here's this strict recipe that you have to follow. So our kids learn fractions in the kitchen. So with that in mind, I started looking ahead at pre-calculus for our kids as they were getting up to that age. And when your child is starts their winter semester, spring semester, that second semester of 8th grade, most umbrella schools want you to have an attentive high school plan that you're going to follow so that once you start high school, it's not going to be a shock and you're going to understand what you're doing. In that attentive plan, you have to have your 4 years of math. The only requirement in the state of Tennessee is 180 days, and you have to report to somebody, whether it be you either have to file independently, and I don't even know how you do that, because like there's criteria for filing independently. You basically aren't going to be filing independently, or you have to go through K-12 through the public school system, or you have to go through an umbrella school. We chose umbrella school. That does no standardized testing because we don't feel standardized testing actually shows what your child learns, and it's biased. Standardized testing is biased based on the people who wrote the test and the information that they pulled from books that they're using. And I may not be using those books to teach my kids. Therefore, I feel standardized testing, especially for homeschool kids, is biased. So we don't do it. I watch my kids' progress and I follow along. And I think if they complete the curriculum that they're given, then that's enough of a test to say, yes, they learned something and I can show you what they did. We're not required to show completed work at the end of the year or anything like that. We are required. The only class requirement is math every day. So if you have a sick day and you got to change math, it's fine. Also, there are things that I will count for math on days that we're traveling outside the house, or like when we travel, one of the things that we do is the kids have to keep up with their own budget. There are worksheets where they can mark miles and then change that over to kilometers whenever we're traveling. That was something we get to talk about because immediately when we crossed the Canadian border, our Google reset to everything in kilometers. So that became a fun discussion for us for that day for math. We also talk about currency exchange, things like that, because the currency exchange right now between the US and Canada is the worst. Even my Canadian uncle has said so. So I'm not just saying that, it really is. Like when we went, it was $1.30 Canadian to $1 US, and now by summer it's supposed to be $1.50 Canadian to $1 US. It's crazy. Anyways, so we talk about things like that. But with that in mind, that my kids had to do math every day, I didn't want them doing a class that I felt either was not applicable for what they wanted to do once they graduated high school, because senior year is the year that we really start focusing on what do you need to finish the year. That's why my seniors, they're doing a class on how to eat healthy and how to not just, oh, this label says it's healthy, well, so we'll do it. It's let's look a little bit deeper into the label. Let's dive in and look and see, is it actually healthy? And like so far we've compared like, things that say organic, are they actually organic? Like different types of meat, talking about eggs. I wish eggs were cheaper right now. Then we're talking about different types of eggs. We were talking about difference between pasteurized and non-pasteurized. So we've had those discussions because I want them on their final year of we have to sit down and learn things that are going to go with them when they transition out of the house eventually. And I started looking at calculus, and it didn't meet my personal criteria for they're going to use this information out in the real world, whether they choose college or not. There is nothing in pre-calculus that my husband currently on an engineering-based job is doing. And I know that like that depends on each person, but the way I was looking at it, and when he and I sat down to look at pre-calculus, none of that really applied to what any of the fields that my kids were going into. There could be fields of work where calculus is applicable, but the things that my kids were looking at, it didn't. So we started looking at alternatives, and all of a sudden on an alternative it said, do you want pre-calculus or statistics? And I'm like, what in the world is statistics? I had never heard of it. Every school and I went to 2 different high schools. My husband was homeschooled. I know several families. I work together with high school base because it's hard to find content on social media for like families that are like in the high school eras, and it's hard to find that. And most of them had only heard of calculus. They had never heard of statistics. What in the world is statistics? So we started looking into it, and I'm like, oh, that's what we want. Because 100%, and it may just be Khan Academy, okay? It may just be Khan Academy. We use Khan Academy. 100% of statistics is, I'm going to teach you how to use functional graphs that you're going to need. Business degrees, you need to learn how to use graphs and spreadsheets. Engineering, doing timesheets for work. There are so many jobs today that you have to be able to know how to use Google Docs, Google Sheets, spreadsheets, math, graphs, all of that to be able to function. Matt and I personally have a budget that's on a spreadsheet. And I know some people are like, oh, the spreadsheets aren't as reliable. It works for us, okay? It works for us. Some people it doesn't work. It works for us. But we've taught our kids how to use a spreadsheet to keep up, because even if you miss like a subscription service, your in general major bills are on that spreadsheet every week for you to have to look at, or if you get paid monthly, every month for you to look at. And it's there, like it's there for you to see. But if you don't know how to use those and how they function, and to compare and contrast from year to year, and to know, hey, maybe I should cut this out of my my budget, or maybe I should switch to this service instead because it's cheaper, or maybe I'm paying more for this, but let's compare. Is it actually giving me more to help me sustain a livable lifestyle than this service is? Because we do also talk with our kids about, like, if it's better for you overall lifestyle-wise, like healthier lifestyle, then don't take the cheaper alternative. Like we try not to do like a lot of cheaper alternative foods, because they may have ingredients in them that overall long-term may be worse for your body than these healthier ones that are a little bit more. Now also be smart. Don't buy like the super expensive stuff just because it's healthier, because it may not be. Again, that goes back to our nutrition class. As we sat there and kept comparing and contrasting, statistics felt more like what my kids needed to know to be in the real world for today. And like I said, my goal was to have this as a shorter video. That is where Matt and I were when we sat down, and why we chose statistics. I think statistics is a great option for, now if your kid like loves math, send them through calculus. There's also other programs out there where you can go all the way through trigonometry before they graduate high school. And it's great. But like even some of the ones I saw, I think it skipped calculus and went to trigonometry, because they said trigonometry actually benefits you more than the calculus does. But the way that our school system works here in the US right now is calculus is required before you can take trigonometry, which I think some of those rules are fixing to change, because voices are starting to be heard about the way the school system is developed now is no longer working in the United States. All we're doing is creating robots who know how to fill out tests and then apply nothing to their lives. So like all these voices are beginning to be heard. And also the homeschool families are like, we don't like these curriculum because this is built to teach 30 plus kids in a classroom. We're one-on-one. Why should we have to do it this way when it's not working? So again, that's why we chose statistics, is we chose something that we thought worked better for our kids, for where they are, for real life outside of high school. And that is it for today's video. It may be slightly controversial, but I'm just sharing my opinion of why we chose this class. Thank you to all of our members for supporting this content and allowing us to continue making videos. And thank you to every single one of you for liking, watching, positive comments, and subscribing. And we will see you next time.